Today, we're diving into the story of a company called PT Unggul Indah Cahaya, or UIC for short. They're a huge player in Indonesia's chemical industry, and let me tell you, their financial story over the past few years, it's been less of a steady climb and more of a wild, white-knuckle roller coaster. So that leads us to the central mystery here. I mean, think about it. How on earth does a market leader, a top dog in their field, have their profits skyrocket by 110% one year, and then just 2 years later, watch them nosedive by 43%? It sounds crazy, right? So let's dig in and figure out what was really going on. All right, so before we can make sense of that crazy ride, we've got to understand who we're talking about. Who exactly is this company, UIC? Okay, it really boils down to this one super important fact. In all of Indonesia, UIC is the only company that produces a key chemical called alkyl benzene, the only one. That kind of monopoly, well, it gives them a seriously powerful grip on their home turf. Alkyl benzene sounds pretty technical, right? But I guarantee you've used something made from it today. It's the main ingredient, the absolute core component for making detergents. We're talking about everything from your laundry soap to the dish soap by your sink. UNC makes the stuff that makes the suds. And don't think for a second that UIC is some new kid on the block. No way. You can see from their records they've been in the game for a long, long time. They were founded way back in 1983. So we're talking about decades of experience and building a really solid foothold in the market. Okay, now for the juicy part. Let's get into the numbers, because this is where you can really see that roller coaster we were talking about. Buckle up. I mean, just look at this. The story is right there in the numbers. 2021, an absolute banner year, a whopping 58 million US dollars in net profit. But then the drop begins. In 2022, it falls to under 38 million. And by 2023, it's been practically sliced in half from that high point, landing at just over 21 million. That's a classic boom and bust cycle, packed into just 3 short years. So let's zero in on that incredible peak in 2021, a profit growth of more than 110%. What caused that? Well, in a word, the pandemic. Suddenly, everyone was obsessed with cleaning, right? Demand for detergents and cleaning supplies just exploded. And who was perfectly positioned to benefit? UIC, the main supplier of the key ingredient. Their profits just went through the roof. But as we all know, peaks like that, they don't last forever. Fast forward just 2 years, and bam. Net profit is down by a staggering 43.5%. Now, you might think, okay, the pandemic demand cooled off, that makes sense. But that wasn't the whole story. Not even close. There were much bigger forces at play here. So what went wrong? Well, to find the answer, we have to look outside of Indonesia. The real problems were coming from all over the world. We're talking about some serious global headwinds. And you don't have to take my word for it. The company's own management report from 2022 spells it out pretty clearly. They pointed to, and I'm quoting here, challenging economic conditions due to geopolitical tensions. So this wasn't just a small dip in the market. This was a full-blown global storm. So what does a global storm actually look like? Well, let's break it down. First, their raw materials are linked to crude oil prices. When oil prices are all over the place, their costs to make their product go on a wild ride too. Then you've got geopolitical issues messing up supply chains, making it tougher and more expensive just to move stuff around. Throw in a worldwide economic slowdown and a local currency that's getting weaker, which makes buying anything from overseas more expensive. And yeah, you've got a perfect storm for absolutely crushing your profit margins. But here's the thing. UIC didn't just sit there and take it. They had to react. So let's take a look at their game plan for navigating these really choppy waters. In their 2023 report, they didn't hide from the bad news. They faced it head-on. They said the decline motivated us to strive for improvement and continuing to strive for sustainable growth. You can hear it right there. This is a company that's actively trying to get back in the driver's seat. And they had a very clear 4-point plan. Step 1, get more efficient. Find ways to cut production costs. Step 2, work better with their other companies. Increase that synergy. Step 3 was a tricky balancing act. Keep prices low enough to compete, but high enough to still make money. And finally, step 4, start looking for new customers outside of Indonesia by expanding their exports. All right, so we've seen the global pressures and we've seen their internal game plan. The big question now is, what's next? What does the future look like for them? Let's take a look at the market outlook. And this is where you really see the two sides of the coin for UIC. On one side, you have this incredible domestic strength. I mean, they're the only producer in a huge, growing country where not everyone uses a lot of detergent yet, so there's massive potential. But then you flip the coin over and you see their big weakness. Their profits are basically held hostage by things they can't control at all, like crazy oil prices and global politics. But even with all those global risks, the folks at the top of UIC are staying optimistic. Their 2024 report says it all. With continued good economic growth, we remain optimistic about the future of the company. It's pretty clear they're betting on that huge domestic market to carry them through. And that leaves us with the big final question, the one that really defines UIC's future. Can that rock-solid dominance they have at home be enough to shield them from the chaotic, unpredictable storms of the global economy? That really is the billion-dollar question for this Indonesian giant.